Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Evening Jones. My name is Bomani Jones. I mean, I'm assuming you probably knew that when you came here, but I have to say these things now because, once again, I don't just have, something to point at anymore. It does say the Evening Jones right down there, though. So, like, maybe that'll be the new thing to do. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to. All right. Anyway, oh, yeah, I forgot. You're watching at theeveningjones.com. I'd appreciate it if you logged in, use Twitter profile, Facebook profile, whatever kind of profile you got, go ahead and use that. Once you do, you can participate in our chat room. You can also send in your questions. You can type them out. I'll put them up on the screen. If I got enough trust in you, I might be able to let you get on camera. You can talk to me like I'm talking to you. It's interactive like that in the 21st century. I will start. Okay, I was just making sure everybody could hear me. Okay, cool. The chat room indicates that you can. A beginning of a fairly significant life adjustment has taken place for me this week. I went to the man and he gave me some things to help me get my teeth fixed. I would tell you the product name, but nobody's paying me to do that. And quite honestly, these words are a little too valuable these days to just be giving the milk away for free. Like, not to no major operation. But anyway, I would just like to take this moment to let anybody know who's out there. Don't get yourself into the unfortunate predicament that I got myself into when I was a youngster. And what is that predicament that I got myself into when I was a youngster, you may be asking? Well, so I got an interesting situation with the two sides of my family as it relates to orthodontics. My daddy's people got more mouth than they got teeth. My mama's people got more teeth than they got mouth. All right. I got my mama's teeth, except like on the top, I was good. As I've said many times before, on the bottom, it looked like somebody was like playing the piano and then just got mad. It was like, pow, right? Just bang the thing down. It's one of those things that I just kind of sort of had to, grow comfortable with as life went on. And also, if you have a redeemable top row, you can mask your bottom row pretty well. Where I have trouble masking the bottom row, by the way, is right here on this here Evening Jones program. This camera is all up in your boy's face, right? So when I was younger, the parents talk, we want you to get the braces or whatever. And they didn't force me to get the braces, right? They did not. And in retrospect, I kind of wish they had. Now, my thinking at the time about the braces was pretty simple. I was a smart kid. I was also the short kid. Adding braces there would have been a trifecta that, quite honestly, I felt like I didn't deserve. Like, just a little bit more. Now, what you don't realize is your options under these circumstances are for the kids to pick on you about your braces or for the kids to pick on you about your crooked teeth. Now, I never really got picked on about the crooked teeth for whatever reason, but they'll only pick on you for the braces for a couple of years. The rest, that's like a lifetime. Anyway, I basically made a decision that was not dissimilar from the decision I made on when it was time for me to come on home with my follicular maintenance. And that is, I'm not going to wind up being the default in reference to, such a glaring and correctable shortcoming. No. We can do something about that. I got money now. Right. And even if I didn't have money, if I was going to do this job, I was going to need to cobble up enough of it to come to some variety of solution. So when you have kids, don't let them tell you nothing. Get them the damn braces, because like this stuff as an adult is kind of whack. I mean, it's kind of inconvenient. Like, I got to travel around with a toothbrush. And, the water in public bathrooms isn't meant for you to be, jamming it all around your mouth like that. Like, that's not what that's there for. Like, there's nothing attractive. No, like no, man. It's not what's up. It is absolutely not what's up. Also, you don't realize this until you start getting some orthodontic work, that your teeth may be crooked, but your teeth are yours, right? And you develop a level of comfort with your teeth, and you figure out how to work around things with your teeth, and so forth and so on. But as the orthodontics begin to take hold, and you recognize it fairly quickly, but as the orthodontics begin to take hold, your teeth don't sit on each other the same way. They just don't. Like, you feel it, it's a little different. Like, it ain't a problem, but like, that's not really how it's supposed to fit. So, like, if you could imagine putting on your favorite pair of drawers and you're like, wait a minute, this ain't how they fit. Like, this is very similar to such a scenario, and it's a little weird, but you only notice it when you eat, because that's the only time that your teeth go back to sitting on top of each other like that. And so you're eating, and it's weird. Like, you got to figure out how to eat again, because your teeth just aren't in the places that you remember them being. And your grill a little tender. Man, first couple of days I was doing this, I'm talking on the radio, man, I'm scratching up the inside of my mouth. Man, I ain't never not wanted to talk so bad in my life. And as you might imagine, that's not really like, how I get down. But anyway, yeah, did that. Now let me give you the other side of like the braces as teenager or whatever. And that is my brother, who did get the braces when he was a teenager. Now, I would like to preface this by mentioning to you, in case you did not know, that my brother is like the luckiest son of a bitch on planet Earth. This is like, my dad will tell you that, all kinds of stuff, right? Like, that's just what it is. He rolls sevens, consistently rolls sevens, under the most dire of circumstances, rolls sevens. All right. So my brother is supposed to go on this trip one summer. I think he's supposed to go to Tanzania, right? Some study abroad thing. He never actually wound up in Tanzania, as I recall, though. He wound up in Kenya. He's supposed to be in Tanzania, but he just wound up in Kenya. And so he's in Kenya, and he's at this bar, and he's just having a brew, and some dude walks up on him, and he's like, yo, you have very nice teeth. How would you like to be in a toothpaste commercial? And so this dude went to this resort for a weekend and did a toothpaste commercial. Get the braces, man. Get the kids the braces, right? If you need the braces and you got the dough, apparently from what my dentist tells me, they believe that plaque is what causes heart disease. Like, do it for your heart. Do it for your heart. Meanwhile, I will be doing this orthodontic journey for like a year and a half, because it's going to take some real work to get these front teeth done. I mean, look, you got to understand, man, the first time I put them things in, I tried to take them out. Like, think about this for a second. They got to fit these things onto your teeth and to like arrange them, but they're going on, by definition, crooked teeth. So how they going to pop on and off easy? They can't. Yeah, man. Yeah, man. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, get your grill right. Yeah, like, look, if Too Short can get his grill fixed, any of us can get our grills fixed. And I'm just go ahead and get this grill fixed. That's what it is, right? I wouldn't, like, I thought that I was going to get too adult, it'd be too much. Nah, man, I'm not about to be that dude. Like, I know who the dudes are that get talked about for having messed up teeth. I got too much money to allow me to be one of them, man. Can't be that. Anyway, let us move on to your questions. Were you ever bullied in school? If so, how did you deal with it? You know, as I think about it, I actually, for some of the reasons I discussed involving why I didn't get the braces, at least according to the tenets of like movies and television shows and stuff like that, I would have been a prime candidate for the bullying. In retrospect, I only have like two instances, or two people I can think of as like legitimately trying to bully me. Now, they are separate things, and I will go in reverse chronological order. The first one was an incredibly traumatic situation where, interestingly enough, I did not do anything wrong. Now, for those of you who do not know, as according to the school system and stuff like that, I was a little ahead of the game, right? Like my birthday actually is August 26th. So if you like listen to the podcast of this, you're probably listening on my birthday. But that's late in the year for the way the school system goes on age in Texas, right? So like September 1st is the flip over date. My birthday is August 26th. So like with the people within my grade, I'm one of the youngest people in the grade. And then I also happened to skip a grade, right? So I wasn't 12 for long, but the first day in ninth grade, I was 12 years old. Yeah. You understand what I'm saying? So anyway, I played basketball my freshman year, but you got to think about this. Like I'm legitimately 2 years younger than like a significant number of the people that are making waves in basketball at that point. Like a legitimate 2 years younger. The dude that was the best basketball, like the best athlete in my high school class. I'll never forget this because he had skipped. He had been retained once. So his birthday was something like late September 1977. Mine was late August 1980. Like think about what that difference is when you're in ninth grade. You know what I mean? Like that's just where I was in the hierarchy. So anyway, I played basketball my freshman year. And basically they just let everybody play. My sophomore year, the growing started and it kind of tore up my knees. So anyway, I worked as the manager on the team my sophomore and junior year because I like being around the basketball team. I wasn't gonna play, right? As a whole, and even if like I was in a picture of health, like maybe it goes different if I'm in the grades that I'm supposed to be in, but it wasn't gonna happen in that way. So and I ain't really had no problem being a manager because one of the dudes that was a manager was like a cat that was cool with everybody, right? So it wasn't just like that wasn't by definition a dork job. We had a dude who was a trainer who was like a varsity high jumper as a freshman, but he had a heart problem. You know what I mean? Like it was a different set of people that did this. There wasn't really no shame in being the manager on the basketball team, the school I went to. But I am the smart dude, and dudes who were on the basketball team, let us just say that we grew up in different neighborhoods, right? And it was actually a great experience for me in a lot of ways because like when you're a smart kid, you get in all the smart kid classes, those are people you're around all the time, but it's a big old world out there and you got to figure out how to function and navigate and all of it. So anyway, cats would try to mess with me and I would come right back at them, because I was just like, all right, cool. Like this is the way I got to do it to hang. Cool. I'm gonna come right back at them. But the thing about being the smart dude is people get real insecure about whatever it is that you might be saying because nobody wants to be made to feel stupid. And when you're the smart kid, the weapon that you have at your disposal is being smarter than them, right? So in order for you to win, you are running the risk of losing. So anyway, I remember one day, varsity basketball team was in there practicing and they were messing up, right? Whatever happened, they were messing up. They all come out and I'm sitting in the office. And this one dude walks in. Dude was like 6'5", 245, right? Like a really good basketball player too. But he walks in. And when he walks in, he's just furious. And somehow he comes across me. And so he gets to me and he's like, yo, don't you say nothing. I don't want to hear nothing out of your smart mouth right now. I don't want to hear nothing. And I had made the decision right then and there that he wasn't going to hear anything from me. Like there was no victory in that one. So I didn't say anything. And then the dude rolled out. And when he rolled out, I looked at somebody. I was like, damn, what'd I do? Another cat decided he wants to instigate. He's like, hey, he in here talking about you. And so the dude comes back and I'm in this chair. Small detail I forgot to mention. This was in the process of dealing with the knee stuff. So I don't know if you're familiar with a knee immobilizer, but it's a joint you'll see people walking around with that goes from like the middle of their thigh, like high on their thighs to, down their calves with 3 rods in the back to stop you from extending your leg. And I'm in a chair and that dude's mad. And that dude thinks I said something, except I didn't. And he ain't gonna believe that. Man, that dude came in there and grabbed me and put me up on the wall, and I'm up against the wall, man. I got my back against that wall, and I am petrified because I don't have like many good options here with this. Like if he drops me, we got a problem. Because if I drop on one knee, like the other knee is bad too. If I drop on that one, it's gonna be a problem. If I drop on the one that don't bend, I'm probably going to have a broken leg. Man, that felt like forever. And there was literally nothing I could do about it. And by the way, literally nothing that I did. That's not fun. Now, for a bullying story that has a much happier ending, if you are a fan of Bomani Jones, I remember I'm in sixth grade, man, and this one kid, I think his name was Carlin, right? Like I feel like he moved the year after this happened, never to be seen again. But I'll never forget this, man. He used to just like decide he was just gonna push me around, right? Like out of nowhere, he get mad and like just start pushing me. And I didn't really understand it. Like I'm 10 years old at this point. I don't think I've been in a fight or whatever, but I'm like, this just doesn't make any sense, right? And it wasn't like I was scared of him necessarily. At least I don't remember being scared. I remember a whole lot of like, wait a minute, so what am I supposed to do now, right? Like I haven't really engaged in these sorts of behaviors. What am I supposed to do? And he do that like once every like couple of months or something like that, right? Like I had PE class with him. It'd be like, yeah, like every couple of months. And so one day, we all running around the track, and we run around the track, and I come up on, and dude was doing the same thing to a cat that I was cool with, this little white dude I was cool with. But think about this, remember everything I told you about age and everything else, this little white dude was like smaller than me. So I see the dude pushing him around, and I say something this time, because he's pushing around a dude who's smaller than me. If you start thinking about how small that required him to be, but he's pushing a dude that's smaller than me. And so the dude decided then that time he was gonna come push me, man, and I stole off and hit that dude in the face about 3 times. And I will tell you, the list of feelings that are better than that is really short. Really short. Like a couple, maybe 3. I whooped his ass. Like, I remember that he was crying after I gave him the hands. He tried to come up and kick me, and I stole off on him again. Like, I really did give him that work. That was a very important moment in life, man. Very, very, very important moment in life. Like, my period in life of fighting is a very, very short one. But that was the one that let me know I might be able to win a couple of these, right? Like, I wasn't walking out of there thinking I was Joe Frazier. But, you know, I felt like I could probably win a couple of those because I gave him the beats. I absolutely gave him the beats. And I'll never forget, we wound up having to go to the principal's office. And so we go to the principal's office. And the thing is, the principal, her husband was like the dean of the graduate school at Prairie View or something. So, like, we knew them, you know? And this happened, like I said, I'll never forget, like 8 times. But we in there at the principal's office, and look, I don't have much to be afraid of in this circumstance. I got a pretty airtight story here, you know? Like I was absolutely under the belief, as I was raised, that under said circumstances, somebody try to do you like that, you are allowed to beat them up, right? And so that's what I did. And man, that little dude sat down in there and he just lied. He lied and lied and lied. He said, yeah, you know, I was just there. And the next thing Bomani comes and starts pushing me. And I'm like, Bomani, why are you pushing me? And so he turned his whole story into how I was pushing him around and basically how I was bullying him. But either way it goes, man, that was a great day. That was a great day. I remember because I whooped his ass on the far side of the track and we had to bring it back in. So after I whooped his ass, I had never run so fast in my life around the track. I had that adrenaline, man. I was running and high stepping. We got to the end and the coach was like, yeah, you know, principal's office, give me all that and everything else. But I'm like, I don't really understand what else it is that I'm supposed to do here. Whew. Yeah, so anyway, I guess I got bullied a couple times. It's been a minute though. Appreciate the question though. Let me see what else we got here. What would happen if Donald Trump actually got in front of a black audience? Okay. I want to start this by saying, as much as I would love to be offended by what Donald Trump is doing right now, I just find it too hilarious to really be offended. I think the best description that I could give right now to what Donald Trump is doing is that the one man gang thinks that he's about to turn himself into the African Dream Akeem, and he thinks that we gonna forget that he's the one man gang. Like, we done seen your movies, homie. We know you are the one man gang. We know that. And that's basically what Donald Trump has been doing here. Now, it's very obvious, I think, and many people have written this, and it's fine. I mean, he's doing these race talks in front of all white audiences, which, it makes it pretty clear that he's not really talking to black people. He's talking about black people. And what he's basically trying to demonstrate is that genteel white people can feel comfortable voting for him because he's no more racist than they are. Like, that is the fun part underneath it all. Is basically what this message is to a whole lot of white people. I'm actually no more racist than you are. Now, I think there's a lot of things that we could discuss about white people and their self-awareness about their levels of racism, but it doesn't matter, does it? He's like, yo, I'm no more racist than you are. And that's what he's saying, right? So he has basically reduced the black existence to, make me the president. You won't have to be in fear of getting shot. My dude, do you think I am in fear of getting shot? Guess who I feel like is most likely to shoot me? Guess who? Guess who? Anybody want to guess? Anybody want to guess? That's right. The police. The police. That's not to say that they ain't black people out here that's killing folks. What I am saying is I'll really be over there. It just doesn't come up. Like, if you give me a reason to go over there, I'll go over there. But I'll never really have no reason to go over there. You feel me? So, like, Trump ain't talking to me when he says that. So I guess I'm not black in the eyes of Donald Trump. Remember, I used to try to explain to people, I used to talk about this all the time, and I never think that, and I didn't think that people really understood it. And I think that this is probably the best way for me to sell this point in a way that people can get it. Every time somebody talks about, like, the whole acting white hypothesis, or the idea that black children will pick on achieving black children and say that they are acting white. Now, that has been debunked by a number of people, but that is a prevalent school of thought amongst people, that black folks automatically reject success, and they determine that people who do all these good and wonderful things are not actually black. All right. Now, you listen to Donald Trump and what Donald Trump is saying. Okay? And what Donald Trump is saying is that black people are product of terrible schools, that black people are perpetually in danger of suffering violence and all these other things, the black on black crime and everything else. And I want you to hear that, and I want you to stop and think, and I want you to tell me, and you help me out with this, all right? Who are the people who think that becoming successful is not being as black? Because it sounds to me like Donald Trump thinks that. And I think it's pretty hard for you to deny that. And you know what else is hard to deny? Donald Trump is out here speaking a whole lot of people's language. And a whole lot of people do feel those ways about black people. That's who we are, every last one of us. And that's who Donald Trump is out here talking to, disingenuously presenting it as appeals to black people, right? Because look, his people ain't stupid. They ain't gonna win that fight. They know they ain't gonna win that fight. They're perfectly aware that is not a victory for them. So they go for what they think they can get. Now, while I find it amazingly ballsy that Trump is trying this in the first place, because I'm just amazed at the fact that he'll try anything. They're like, yo, here's what we think is going to work. And so, okay, cool, just give it a run. He'll try anything. I actually find what Hillary Clinton is doing to be far more problematic. Because look, Trump's out here just spitting like basically the same stuff that we've always heard. You know, Trump's out here, all the Democrats are the real racists. Look what the Democrats are doing to black people in cities, which, oh, by the way, a point worth considering. You don't want to hear it from Trump necessarily, but what you get when you stop and think about that is the reality that the issue of racism is not party specific. The platforms of these parties do have some racial dynamics that kind of, mold the way that we go in things. However, what Trump is saying is not terribly wrong. Like, Chicago has been very Democratic for a very long time. Chicago has also treated black people very poorly. Donald Trump doesn't actually realize this or think about it in these ways. Like, these aren't things that actually matter to him, but there's something to that, right? And if you think that white Democrats don't hear that and don't feel a little bit of sting when he says that, I think you're crazy. All right? Because the Democratic Party is not just, it purports itself as being a less racist party than the Republicans, and some can certainly make that argument, but it ain't a party of zero racism. And it ain't a party full of white people who are just absolutely and truly positive that they are not racist. So when Trump hits him with that, he's like, yo, look at what's happened in the cities controlled by Democrats all this time. Don't you think for a second that there are people on the left who aren't hearing that and taking that mad personal? Because I can tell you this as somebody who talks about race in public. Say something about the Democrats and how they handle race and see how defensive people get. See what happens. Because I've had it happen to me several times. Several. All right? And as Sophia says in the chat room, she's like, they're so quick with the not us. And what Hillary Clinton did was come back around with basically a not us speech. And it's every bit as disingenuous as what Trump's doing. So, let's roll out all this evidence that Donald Trump is racist. You can go ahead and do that if you want. You're not changing any minds, right? Either people think that or they don't. Don't nobody need to be convinced of it, regardless of what side of things they happen to be on. Don't nobody need to be convinced of it, all right? Those conclusions have already been drawn. Got it. So, either way, they're going to throw all this stuff out there about Trump. Hear you. Got it. Now, the move also was to do this thing of associating Donald Trump with what they are calling now the alt-right, which seems to be a lot of really angry white dudes who really don't like anybody but other white dudes. And anybody that defends those who somehow are in opposition of the white dudes then wind up being their victims, right? That's who they, come at or whatever it is. But that's what that seems to be, is that particular segment of people. And so what Hillary Clinton's doing is saying that, look, Donald Trump is associated with these people and is saying it in the context basically of these people are the worst of the internet, right? These are the worst of the worst, and these are the people who love Donald Trump. These are the people who support Donald Trump. Now, never mind the fact that I would imagine that if those people were organized as they are or under the heading as they are or whatever, those people also probably would have supported Ronald Reagan in 1980. But you really wouldn't be able to do the easy 2 and 2 like you can do with Trump. But the idea that he is supported by those people, to me, I don't think that's something to point out, unless what you're trying to do is talk to white people and be like, you don't want to get mixed up with those guys, do you? Right? You don't want people to think that you're them. And none of this has a damn thing to do with black people. None of it has anything to do with any contribution whatsoever to deal with racism in any functional sense, to deal with the particular conditions of life that black people deal with. That's none of what this is. All black people are in this discussion for both of those candidates are something for them to use to talk bad about each other. Y'all are the racists. Y'all are really the racists. Y'all are really the racists. And not a damn one of them is talking about doing anything about actual racism. None of them. And so people will point this out about Trump, right? They'll point out that Trump is doing this and he's not actually talking to black people. He's just talking about black people. Because I mean, it's just really hilarious, the idea that he's doing these talks in front of like rooms with nothing but white people in them. I mean, the gall, the unmitigated gall. But how many people are going to write this on the other side about Hillary Clinton? That basically Hillary Clinton is navigating in the exact same space that Donald Trump is navigating in. And so her response to Trump talking about black people, but really talking to a white audience, is to respond and then talk to that same white audience. While nobody's talking to black people about nothing. Because she's talking to the same white people that Donald Trump is trying to reach. The same exact ones. And it's all basically to shame them out of voting for Donald Trump. That's what this is. Now, let me ask you this. It's a question, because I basically just come with questions on this. With Hillary's response being just to talk about what a racist Donald Trump is, to make this certain genteel segment of the right be too ashamed to vote for Donald Trump, how then does Hillary argue against Trump's notion that all black people are is votes to her? Like, how do you do that? Because this kind of makes Trump look correct in some of what he's saying. Hey, I know Hillary's got a track record of, some different things. I do not think that Hillary Clinton is an enemy of black people. I don't believe that, right? However, this is how it's going. And historically, when one was just the nature of two-party politics, if somebody goes way far to the right on matters of race, the person positioned to the left typically has to go right too. And they always do. Because this discussion about racism, it's about us, but it's not for us. Now, this dude, Adam, he looked like he go to Morehouse. Anyway, he says Hillary's response was more about bigotry than just racism against blacks. Who cares, Adam? Who cares? How does that change anything about what I just said? Serious question. How does that change anything about what I just said? Oh, Cliff Clavin acting motherfucker. All right, appreciate the question. I have to go find the question so I can shut it down. There we go. Let me see what else we got here. More audacity, Trump or Creflo? So I have not been keeping it up today with what exactly has gone on with Creflo Dollar. I had never heard of Creflo Dollar until I got to college. Well, no, I heard him before I got to college because I had an uncle who was all about that Creflo life. And I made the decision at that point that I don't think that you should trust no preacher named Dollar and no man named Creflo. You understand what I'm saying? Like that's two things that I don't really think was hot. Now, apparently, it seems that someone reported that Creflo Dollar said that God told him to endorse Donald Trump. Now, Creflo Dollar says that this is not true. He says this is not true. Let me tell you something about Creflo Dollar. Because I don't know that much about Creflo Dollar. But the uncle I told you about, who was like all about that Creflo life, they did his funeral at World Changers. And that was as fascinating as anything I've ever been to. Now, some of you have heard me tell this story before, but no big deal. Actually, no, I forgot. Maybe the people who are mentioning this don't remember the story. I forgot about Creflo asking for people to give him a jet from God. But the funeral was about to go. My hustling cousin shows up to the funeral. I was shocked as hell to see him. Showed up in a hoodie and jeans, by the way. And I'm like, what are you doing? Like, you here? He's like, yeah, man. I wasn't going to come until I heard it was going to be Creflo. He the only one of them that got a Rolls Royce and a jet. Right. So when the hustlers show up, out of reverence for the dude running the service, because he know a hustler when he sees one. Let's start there. Right? Let's start there. So we go. And the first thing I notice about World Changers is there is not a cross to be found anywhere in that bad boy. Like where you would normally see a cross was a logo. And the wildest thing to me was, man, when the music, they had a band in there playing, and the band was really good, but I swear for God, it sounded like we were in the studio. Like I've never heard a cleaner mix of a live recording in my life. And I'm like, how does your church not have any rough edges at all? At all. It was wild, man. It was just like, and I thought he did a good job with the service, the eulogy or whatever you want to call it. Like, I thought he did a good job with that. But it was just so amazing to see how branded out that whole thing was. Totally branded out that whole thing was. Now, with that in mind, about that thing being all branded out, Creflo ain't crazy. Creflo got to be smart enough to know that for him, he need to leave that Trump thing alone. At the same time, if I'm Trump's people, I'm absolutely trying to do what it takes to get Creflo in the fold. And you know why I'm doing whatever it takes to get Creflo in the fold? Because the unthinkable may happen this election, which is Georgia may turn blue. Georgia might turn blue. Yeah, you might want to try to get some black people to do something like vote for Donald Trump, if that's what it is. Appreciate the question. Wait. Somebody say he might lose Utah? It's close in South Carolina? Bruh. This is wild. This is so wild. Hold on, somebody's got a link to electrovote.com in here. I got to go look at this. Damn. Georgia, Mississippi is barely GO. Woo, Mississippi? Hey, man. One thing you got to remember about Mississippi. Mississippi is like 38% black. It's going to be an interesting election day if Mississippi is still polling close. Like if it's legitimately polling close, it's going to be a fascinating election day. Appreciate that question. Let me see what else we got here. Does the Department of Justice report validate the authenticity of The Wire? Somebody named Hatch put that in here. What a stupid question. Who was questioning the authenticity of The Wire in the first place? Also, by the way, The Wire was far kinder to the police. Far kinder. And look, they had the police being some brutal jokers, right? Like, they didn't really deal with the police softly, but it wasn't quite as bad as, yeah. Anyway, appreciate the question. Let me see. What else we got here? Sorry about all that yawning. Is there any rapper other than Redman with 3 classics out of the gate? Now, are we going there with solos or are we strictly going with groups? Because with solos, that's actually a pretty interesting one of who gets to 3 classics in a row off the rip. And I say interesting because Ice Cube, for example, Ice Cube might have the best first 2 albums of any solo ever. But is The Predator a classic? Because I don't think The Predator is a classic. Kanye's got 3, depending upon how you feel about Graduation. I lean toward no. Scarface, is The World Is Yours a classic? I would lean toward no. People are saying Eminem, and that's ridiculous. Who else do we have here that comes up in this? Like LL Cool J, he's got the first 2. He doesn't have the 3rd. Nas doesn't have the first 3. Jay-Z does not have the first 3. You can make the argument about Public Enemy if you want to look at Chuck as basically being a solo rapper, but Yo Bum Rush the Show does not really sound great in retrospect. This is actually very interesting because I do believe that Redman has 3, and now I'm trying to think of who else has 3. Does Ghostface have 3? Like, is Iron Man a classic? Because I don't really feel like Iron Man is a classic. I do think that Supreme Clientele gets the nod, and Bulletproof Wallets is tricky because the original Bulletproof Wallets that was supposed to come out really, really dope, but it wasn't the one that we actually got. So what is there to say? So let me see who else we got. T.I. is an interesting one. I think that you can make a case for T.I. You cannot make a case for Lil Wayne because if you're putting down Lil Wayne and saying his first 3 are classics, you must be counting the Carters and you are skipping out the first No Limit ones. Not No Limit. You know what I'm talking about. Jeezy has a case. Jeezy has like the most unlikely supremely strong catalog of all of them. Eric and Rakim, yeah, we say that. I think that was a fair one. Like, if you're in groups, EPMD is probably in there. But if you're just thinking solos, this is actually proven to be a much more difficult discussion than I would think. And somebody's asking, you can say Kendrick if you count Section 80. I suppose there's something to that. Although, you know, me and To Pimp a Butterfly don't have the same relationship that it has for a lot of you guys. Am I missing anybody on these solos? Because it feels like there should be somebody else that I could point to. Ooh, Too Short? Could it possibly be Too Short? Born to Mac is a classic. Life is Too Short. That's a classic. Short Dogs in the House. It's up there. It's up there. Life's a funny thing, you know what I mean? Somebody says Snoop Dogg, like Snoop's second and third albums weren't The Dogfather and The Game Is to Be Sold, Not to Be Told. Appreciate the question. All right. Any comments on the Leslie Jones situation? The Leslie Jones thing is so weird to me because Leslie Jones is, I mean, and I don't mean this, like, I can't think of a better way of saying this, but like, Leslie Jones is grand scheme irrelevant. Like Leslie Jones didn't like move in the direction of the entertainment industry or anything else. Like she was in Ghostbusters. I mean, she's on Saturday Night Live too. I've seen, like I said, and by the way, I told you, I've seen Leslie Jones do stand up, and Leslie Jones is hilarious. But it's such bullying because it feels like they're looking at her and they're looking at the way that she looks, and they have just decided that makes her the easy target. Like, it's not as though it appears that she's done anything to anybody. Like, on one hand, it just seems like such a random fight to decide to pick. On the other hand, it's not random at all. And somebody said here that she was just in a movie. Yeah, how many people are in fucking movies? Yeah. Oh, I got it. There we go. I misunderstood you. Sorry. That's it. She's in a movie. That's it. Somebody's like, she got the platform at the Olympics. Adam, like, why is everything you saying in the chat room today so dumb? Let me pull up your profile and see if it gives us any indicators. I mean, like, I feel like you don't help anything when you show up here. But I mean, she was on the Olympics. Okay. Like, but what of that turns into this? And this isn't a young person. And like, this isn't a woman that there's this like huge desire that the world has to see her naked. Like, I mean, I've just been like blown away by the cruelty of it for her. Like, of all people in the world to pull up, of her. And so I don't know like what she does. I don't know like how she's supposed to play it, because now she's in this position where she's handled it fairly well and she's been publicly strong, which I think has empowered other people who can see themselves in her and in her situation. But it can't be easy to be publicly strong for this long about something so cruel and just something, so public. I don't know how you do that. Because the more you heard, the more you talk about it, the more they gonna want to ramp it up. But if you don't talk about it, then you got all these people worried that you go on weak or anything else. I don't know, man. Like, I mean, all I can say is that I find it to be terrible. Like, I don't have any insight really into why somebody would do something like this, other than the fact that they think that they can. That's it. I appreciate the question. Let me see what else we got here. Do you think Nate Parker is familiar with Paul Mooney's wake up call? Like, do you think that that's what this is? Like, really, do you think that that's what this is? I was having a conversation, I think it was yesterday, and a very important point was made about this Nate Parker thing for all the conspiracy theorists, which is this is really, as much as anything, black blogs that kind of got this story to the front. Like, I don't feel like this is a story that the white man just brought up and ramped up. Like, I don't think that I mean, that isn't really what this is. Like, I don't feel like this is the quote unquote wake up call that people are talking about. Here's what I do think happened. Like, and this is kind of separate from the issue. I think we talked about like the deeper issues on the podcast last week. But the thing you got to remember is, if this happened in 1999 and it's 2016, for 17 years, he's been able to say all the things that he said when this initially became a 2016 controversy, and they all worked. Right? He could talk about being a man of faith and how he's grown and how he's moved on and all of that stuff, right? He could do all of that stuff before, and it worked. It doesn't work now. But in a situation like that, people are going to go back to what has always worked. And this for him has always worked. And then he got out there and he was doing it, and all of a sudden it wasn't working. And then he's looking up and he's like, yo, why me? Which was another bad look for him, because people want to talk about the issue and he's talking about himself. And so he's like, yo, why me? Why is this happening to me right now? And I mean, dude, you made a really good movie that made people want to know more about you. Guess what happens when that happens? People then find out more about you. Like, that's what it is. And so, like, somebody in the chat room is saying the timing is absolutely not a coincidence. Of course, it's not a coincidence that he gets more attention when he does the most prominent thing that he's ever done in his life. No, that's not a coincidence. Like, how do you think that this is going to go? How do you think this is? You know? So I don't think that this is a conspiracy, right? I am willing to believe, though, that there are some people, like at the studio or whatever, who don't want to be associated with this movie for a number of reasons. Like, I think that that is certainly possible. There's certainly possible there's people like around us who don't want this movie to come out. Like, I don't think that it is, like, fully ridiculous for people to question whether there is a conspiracy to stop the Nat Turner movie from coming out. I think it is ridiculous, however, to actually think that's what's happening. You see what I mean? Like, to consider it, I think is absolutely fair, because I can't believe they're about to put out no damn Nat Turner movie. Can you? Like, how many people thought they were going to live long enough to see a Nat Turner movie? I thought the closest you was going to get was Django, right? So yeah, I do think that it is absolutely shocking for a lot of people that this movie could even like be considered to come out. Like, the idea that there's a mainstream portrayal of Nat Turner that makes him heroic. Like, yeah, man, that's a bit surprising. And yes, that totally sounds like something that there would be a conspiracy to shut down. The problem is the conspiracy in this case does not hold up to any level of intellectual scrutiny. So if you make the decision that it's conspiracy, you got to then listen to the reasons that people say that it's not. And if people give you legitimate reasons why it is not a conspiracy and you don't have an answer for them, you need to fall back. But in this particular case, it doesn't appear to be a conspiracy. It doesn't. I also saw somebody ask whether or not I was going to go see the movie in theaters. And the answer is probably. I probably will. Couple reasons. One, I don't see going to see that movie as necessarily going to support Nate Parker. Like, I acknowledge I am pretty capable of compartmentalizing on these sorts of things. And I am not going to jump up and pretend like I don't give terrible people my money, like, somewhat often. Right? So, like, if you make the decision based on everything that's out about Nate Parker, if you make the decision that you don't want to go see the movie, I'm not saying anything to you about it. Like, I think that that's a reasonable thing to do. And I think that people have all kinds of places and ways where they will draw lines. And if you decide that that's a line that you are going to draw, that's fine. I will go see the movie, number one, in part because I think it's the kind of movie that, given the kind of work that I do, that I'm going to need to be able to say that I saw it, you know, to participate in a certain level of conversations that will come up for somebody in my line of work. So, like, there's that part there, definitely. And yeah, I don't have, there's an expectation of morality that a lot of people have from people before they will consume or patronize their products that I honestly don't have. I don't. Now, there are different levels to it. For example, I can't really rock with R. Kelly like that. But the thing about R. Kelly is it is impossible to separate R. Kelly and his art from the things that R. Kelly has been accused of doing. You know, like giving the things that he's accused of doing, and then you go listen to the music. It's very, very difficult to separate the two. Like, I'm not capable of doing that. But, you know, I was reading a magazine article not too long ago about one of James Brown's daughters talking about walking in on her parents, and James would just be straddled on top of her mother, just beating the shit out of her with his closed fist. Am I going to stop listening to James Brown? Probably not. Probably not. I don't tend to get too sanctimonious about these things for that reason, because I recognize. Now, here's one for you. This is an interesting one. Bill Withers made the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame not too long ago. And when Bill Withers dies, there's going to be a whole lot of people real sad about Bill Withers dying. And there have been the long-standing allegations that Bill Withers, when he was married to Denise Nicholas, beat the hell out of her. And after they divorced, he has never talked about it. Never, ever talked about it. There's a documentary on Bill Withers called Still Bill that completely skipped over that marriage as if it never happened. It did produce one of the great breakup albums of all time called Adjustments, but it skipped over that completely like it never happened. And I tell you right now, a whole lot of the people who were like demanding the blood on Nate Parker and did the same thing on R. Kelly, I watched them be so happy about Bill Withers getting into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame when that happened. We all draw lines in interesting places. I think the only appropriate response is to have an understanding of why some people draw lines where they do, but the sanctimony ain't going to get you nowhere with it. It just won't. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us here on the Evening Jones. We're going to try to do this once a week. I don't know. I'm on vacation next week, so I might do a show because I'm not really traveling, but I can't really answer that question for you. But my man Lance Gilliam handles everything behind the scenes. Thank you, sir. If you can't watch the Evening Jones live, subscribe to the podcast, subscribe to the iTunes store, subscribe at Stitcher Radio. You can also find us at SoundCloud. I'll catch you guys next week. Take it easy.